Again, it's only a fictional text, so if you take it seriously, it's your fault. This video was meant to contain a dialogue between Red China's president, Xi Jinping, and its former president, Hu Jintao, and it does, but it's not exactly how I try to make it. So, who is more like economy open and less paranoid, but sometimes even more careful than Xi Jinping? In a video before, in my first YouTube account, which I do not have access to anymore, I had said Red China's Edward Snowden is Anne Totti, that's the doctor who stumbled into organ harvesting. So I don't really know if one can compare those two countries, actually. It was about this overdone anti-Americanism, like saying Edward Snowden says the government listens to the phone calls. War, that's bad. Somebody allowed to leave Red China, it's not everybody there, tells the most horrifying things from Red China. Sure, it's all a lie. Evil America. If this 9/11 thing is true, then who should ever believe in something ever again? In that video I said, if Anne Totti doesn't exist, Edward Snowden doesn't exist either. Does North Korea exist, by the way? If I was Biden and Red China would start their Fort Detrick stuff, I'd say, North Korea. Why don't Red China says it's a country, so why wouldn't that so-called country want any tourism? So, if there would have been some way to sort of, but it's not really, still, somebody would have said that all, I guess, one could claim it, that probably all of the intelligence agencies listen to the biggest politicians of all countries. Because of course they're interested in what they say. But the rest of this dialogue is much more interesting than Edward Snowden. Xi Jinping would have said that it might be an idea to send a virus from Wuhan and to be as obvious as possible and to talk as much shit as possible. Hu Jintao would have criticized him, and then Xi Jinping would have implied that 9/11 was really a stupid idea. So he'd have said he would have said we opened our economies to them, and everything we wanted was 9/11. They did not want that. They did not want this World Trade Center thing, and this is why they insisted on the added attack on the Pentagon. Now they hate us. That was much too obvious. Everybody could have seen that the Saudi Arabians did not want that. In the Western world, there were villages where nobody had ever really heard of Islam or Salafism. Many of them would have used the words immigrants, asylum seekers, and criminal immigrants. Everybody sees sees too, or could have seen, that 9/11 would have been unnecessary for America. Nobody needed a 9/11 after all, for marching into Mali or Somalia. So if one was a conspiracy theorist, one would have to assume that the attack on the Pentagon could only have its reason that all of the most powerful Americans would have been like, oh, okay, it's our government, no attack on us. The Iranians had to be confused. They had to believe that 9/11 may have even been about them, and that they were part of an axis of evil, the way that Bush said axis of evil after 9/11. This was the most useless thing, the most useless thing. And Hu Jintao would have said that one is not actually fighting, but only saying different opinions. Different opinions? Different opinions? Xi Jinping would have shouted, and after a short time, he himself had been a bit dramatical. And so in front of they'd have been talking in front of, they would have been talking in front of an undefined meeting of like 2 other people or 100 people or whatever. And so Xi Jinping would have said that the American secret services are so powerful that they are even warring with each other, and that there was also some sort of secret civil war in addition to that. It wasn't a civil war, Hu Jintao would have said. A civil war that most of those involved did not really know of, is what Xi Jinping would have said then. And it wasn't the most bloodiest civil war of history, but we will never know what such a civil war in China would look like. American means being living door to door with the enemy. We will never know how such a civil war look like in China. We would not know ideas the enemy next door could come up with. Shenzen and Hongkong must be completely full of cameras everywhere. And then Hu Jintao would have said, but Hong Kong and like this, Taiwan will never. I don't trust them, Xi Jinping would have replied.